Soccer Nova Scotia says Matt Ayyash is the only deaf official in the province.
I was born in Jerusalem. I moved to Canada when I was 13. I'm deaf. I grew up in Halifax since the age of 13. Before I played, I started off with hearing teams, and I didn't have a whole lot of confidence until I got involved with the Canadian deaf soccer team. That really boosted my confidence. There was one time that I was just playing around and they needed a ref for a fun game, and somebody was like, well, do you mind maybe being our ref? And I really enjoyed that experience. It was all just for fun, there was no competition, but I really enjoyed it, and that's kind of what sparked my interest. So I wanted to be a part of helping the game have a fair outcome for everybody.
He refereed for fun for a time, then came his first official game as a ref.
Well, before that game, I was ridiculously nervous. And personally, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a deaf ref in a hearing league. How am I gonna do this? What am I gonna do? I was so nervous. But it was a really low level. It was young children. But for me, it still felt like a huge accomplishment, being able to go out and do this. And, you know, children aren't necessarily exposed to a lot of things. So I had them come up to me and I tried to explain that I am deaf and they have to gesture. And they just kind of looked at me and then looked at each other and they were like, I don't know what's going on right now. And it was very awkward. But I do remember that day, and I made several mistakes during that game, but I've learned a lot since then.
And while refereeing is about watching gameplay closely, it's as much about communication.
I'll communicate with the assistant referees, and we have a bit of a game plan before the game starts. I also have a buzzer here on my arm, so that the assistant referees have a button on the special flags that I provide to them. They push it, it vibrates on my arm, and I know that they want my attention because they can't scream for me.
While Matt dealt with nerves and anxiety in those first games he refereed, he says he feels he's come into his own.
The important thing is to be able to accept feedback. You have to be able to accept feedback and make the changes. If you have the attitude that you're like, well, I'm good enough, I don't need to change anything, it's not going to work. You need to be able to make the decisions and then understand why things happened. It was really shocking and it felt really empowering because I was Ref of the Year in Nova Scotia for 2016. And I still have it at home. It was a very proud moment for myself. And sometimes after a bad day or a bad game, I go home and I see the award and it reminds me that yes, I can change and I can improve. So it continues to be a positive for me. And one of the really cool things is that it doesn't say that I'm deaf. It just says I'm Ref of the Year. So to me, that's putting me on the same playing field as everybody else. It's not singling me out because I'm deaf. I didn't win it because I'm deaf. It's anybody could have won it and I got to win it. So I feel like that was a huge barrier that was beat.